Hello and welcome to another episode of Authentic English for Curious Learners. Today, Miss Minia and I are going to be discussing the Part 1 topic of evening time, as well as the Part 2 topic of describing a time you got up early. Remember to check out the resources in the description below. I have both a vocabulary list as well as a transcript for this episode. So I hope you find it useful. Make sure to give us a like and a subscribe and leave a comment for us. Now, let's get to the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Authentic English for Curious Learners. Hello, Miss Minia.
Hello, Mr. Kevin. Hello, everyone.
Today we have two question sets for you, or actually Part 1 question set about evening time, and the opposite of that is our Part 2 question about a time we got up early. I want to remind you to check out the description for a vocabulary list as well as the transcript for this episode. What do you think, Miss Minia? Are you an early bird or a night owl? Do you like evenings?
I wish I were an early bird because I feel like it's good for your health. It's better for your digestion and skin. I know for a fact that I look bad if I stay up too late.
Oh, definitely.
But it's so easy for me to stay up late. Easier than getting up early, in general.
I have read that it is a way, like in America, they even call it like a sleep crisis. People are not sleeping enough. So when people work a long day, they kind of rebel against that and stay up too late because that's their time, which leads to people sleeping too long.
I read about that.
I'm sorry, sleeping not enough. Now, this question's about evenings, so I guess evening's a little... What time would you say evening is?
Evening, I think, would start after 6.
Yeah, I think so. 6 to probably 10.
Right, and then from 10, it will be midnight, is it?
It would be just nighttime.
Right, night.
Nighttime, yeah.
Yeah.
So
are you a morning person, Kevin?
I'm not a morning person in that I don't like to be talked to in the morning. I like quiet in the morning. I am a morning person in that I wouldn't say I'm a morning person. I'm an early bird. How about that? A difference. An early bird is I love to get up early in the morning. I love it when the world is quiet and it's relaxed. I'm not a morning person in that I don't like to deal with people early in the morning. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm glad we dove into that. Would you say you are a night owl then?
I used to be, but now I switched completely. I used to love going out with my friends, and I would stay out very, 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 very late. But now, by 9 o'clock, I'm usually in bed. Even if I'm doing something, even if I'm reading or working a puzzle or something on my phone, I like to be in bed early because I usually get up about 5 o'clock or maybe even a little before.
Yeah. I'm feeling like I'm changing too and shifting more towards being a, what was that? Early bird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice. I feel like before 6:30, the world is a completely different place. And even in Hanoi, as crazy as it is, being up super early in the morning, it's so nice. It feels like it's just a different city. Just a different city.
And for me, even though both when I stay up late or when I get up super early, I feel the quiet in the house. But in order to be able to do stuff, to work, for example, morning would be much better.
Yeah, to get things done.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Or to be focused. I guess maybe it's related to your energy levels.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, I used to work with a lawyer who would go into the office at like 5 o'clock
5 a.m.
a.m.
Mm.
because no one else got there until 9. So he said I was
Mhm.
so productive in that,
Mm.
4-hour window that basically I got my entire day done. I could leave early if I wanted, but I was also free to do other things that might need to be done. But the heavy thinking jobs were already done in complete quiet. I don't think
Wow,
we have enough quiet in our world anymore. And the mornings are the one time that there is still quiet.
that's true.
What do you dislike doing in the evenings?
Well, I can think of things I like first. Like I like hanging out with family, relaxing, reading a book, watching a movie. Oh, so then I know what I dislike. That's working.
Mm,
But I just can't avoid working in the evenings because teaching people usually take extra classes at the off hours.
right.
And so that's when we have to work.
We need to be
Well, I guess,
available. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess this will add to my previous conversation about my ideal job is that I wouldn't have to work in the evening.
I understand completely. I would probably say the same thing. I feel that I am most alert and aware in the morning and during the day. So when I have classes at night, I just don't like them as much. I wouldn't say I don't like them as much as I feel a little more tired. I don't feel as energetic in the evening. So yeah, our old job, right? We worked from 8 to 3. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
But now, so I do have 2 classes that are in the morning and 3 in the evening, I believe. And they're
Mm.
relatively early in the evening. But last night I did a seminar with a local English club, and
Oh,
it was from 7:30 to 9.
oh,
And I was a little tired, and I could feel the students were a little tired as we went on.
it was past your bedtime.
It was way past my bedtime. By the time I actually slept in this morning, because yes, it was way past my bedtime.
Even though I said that I didn't like it, I still have to push through. But I just noticed that right after the class, I really have to take a 15 or 20-minute break before I can like stand out the homework, which
Yeah,
is usually not a problem when it's an earlier class, the daytime class.
I find, yeah, that when I teach at night, in the evenings, my energy goes higher, and it's by the end, I would say I get keyed up, right? Like
Oh,
meaning a little more alert, a little more energetic because I'm with students. Then it's hard for me to go to bed. Like last night, I didn't go to bed till like 11 o'clock because
mm,
I had just taught. I was working. I was interacting, talking a lot, and it was hard. It's hard to calm down then and go to bed. So that's another reason why I don't like to teach
you
in the
really
evening.
needed to wind down afterwards.
That's it.
And I think this is the only time people should use the word wind down. A lot of people just use it like randomly.
Yeah, like as a synonym to relax or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, your wind down is perfect there, right? You're anxious,
Yeah.
you're keyed up,
Especially after you've been keyed up. Yeah.
and you need to wind down. Yeah, very good idiomatic item there.
That
What?
was used appropriately.
Absolutely, band 8. That's a band 8 idiomatic item used with awareness of style and collocation. Is your evenings the same now as when you were a child? I think they were probably quite different.
Yeah. Children usually just follow what their parents do. So I probably mostly had dinner and probably did some homework and went to bed very early. I remember there were days I was the first one to go to bed and I really didn't like it. But my mom really thought that I needed enough sleep. And I think it was very helpful for me.
I think people underestimate how important sleep is. I just made a video about how to gear up for the actual IELTS test, and that was one of the things that I said. Like, you need sleep. You know, staying up till 1 in the morning doing writing revisions or studying it, you're hurting yourself. You need
Or,
sleep, at least 8 hours. Did you have a bedtime, like a time your parents sent you to
yeah,
bed?
yeah. Like it would be time for everybody to turn the TV on and watch it. I would have to go to bed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember getting into the room. I was very scared that it was super dark, and I would jump really quickly into the bed and cover my face up to my eyes.
Yeah, you were in Russia. There are bears and lions and all sorts of things, right? I don't know. I had a bedtime too, and I want to say it was like 8 or 8:30. So that is one similarity now between what I did as a child, because I have a self-imposed bedtime of 8:30, 9 o'clock. But yeah, that's your experience. Pretty much is the same as mine. Maybe watch a little TV, and then I'm sure my parents wanted to be left alone and visit, and
Right.
so they would send me to bed.
I forgot to finish the answer actually because I only mentioned what happened in the past and I didn't compare it to the present. But now I work a lot, and when I don't work, I hang out with my son. So very different from
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
How do you spend your evenings these days? That's different from when you were a child.
It's not much different than when I was a child. It's not much different. Watch a little TV. I like to relax by watching. Only now we watch YouTube instead of TV. I like to read, and I go to bed pretty early. I'm
Mm,
quite protective of my evenings now. Sometimes I go out, like on the weekends, I don't mind going out. If friends want to get dinner or maybe get a drink somewhere. But even still, I mean, if I am out past 9:30 or 10, that's unusual for me. I just don't like it as
mm.
much.
So you never get into that state where you do the revenge bedtime procrastination. I just Googled it because I remember reading about it. Revenge bedtime procrastination. It's when you feel like you were too busy in the during the day and then you wanted to like get revenge by just refusing to sleep.
Reclaiming some time for yourself, I guess. No, I don't. I guess because I'm in charge of my schedule now. So really, I have no one to blame but myself if I'm super busy during the day.
Mhm.
And I don't work through the day. I work a little here in the morning, then a little here, then a little here, then a little here. So I do get my breaks during the day, which is nice.
Mm,
I would say, the next question, are there differences between what we do in the evening now and what we did in the past? And I think this question's talking about, recent past or adult past. And I would say absolutely. When I first moved to Vietnam, I worked every evening. And so it's not necessarily the revenge bedtime, but everyone worked late. And so the only way to see your friends was to go out after you got off work. So you get off work at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then you would meet your friends for dinner or drinks or whatever. And it would be quite late when you got home. Whereas I don't do that at all anymore. What about you? What about pre-child? What did you do in the evenings?
ugh. Oh, I also worked so much at the beginning of my career,
Mm,
especially. I had so many classes during a day, and a lot of them were in the evenings, because that's peak time. And I would usually meet my friends either during the day or afterwards. So the days I went out late, I would stay up pretty late. But mostly, so I think the job part is pretty much similar now that I have to work in the evenings again. And I still sometimes see friends. I tr
but
I try to see friends in the
but
evenings
not after
sometimes.
you work in the evening.
No, maybe like once in a blue moon.
Yeah. Hey, that is used very appropriately there. With style and co-location. See, this is why I gave you an 8 on vocabulary in your test. You know, people say that they drop that idiom and they often use it incorrectly. And
Yeah, that's
you
why when I
used it
said it, I was
100%
like,
correctly.
there was a lot of bells ringing in my head, like, oh, people use it all the time in the wrong way.
Yep, you used it correctly. It's a little old-fashioned, but you can still use it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to like make a face because I knew that I was doing a weird expression.
It worked. It worked.
Mm.
What about weekends and weekdays? Do you have the same schedule in the evenings? I do. Maybe I'm a little more free in the evenings on the weekends, so I might watch a movie or maybe go out to dinner or something.
Wow. Okay, that sounds nice.
Hmm?
I do try to have a day off, but it could fall during the week or at the weekends. So my weekends and weekdays evenings are not very different. I would say that there's a huge difference relating to my son in that he would be more at home during the weekend, at the
Sure.
weekend. And so sometimes I would take him to my parents or
Hmm.
my parents-in-law. So that would be a difference, like in
Hmm.
terms of where I would be,
Hmm. But you can obviously work from anywhere.
right?
Hmm. Well, let's move on to our part 2 question of describe a time you got up early. And this was difficult for me, but I did think of one. And
So
go
why
ahead.
was it difficult for you? Don't you
I,
get up early all the time?
I think that's why it was difficult, right? Where I was talking to students last night. They said, I have problems thinking of ideas in part 2. And I honestly think because I get up early all the time, that makes me want to pick a special time that I got up early.
Mm,
And if I had just launched into, actually, I get up early all the time, and this is what, that would be fine. That would be fine.
right.
But I fell victim to the same trap that a lot of our students fall victim to. You want to pick the right answer. There is no right answer.
You want to sound interesting for
I
some
want to
reason.
sound interesting. And as we talked about, that's not the point.
Mm. So how early would this early be to you?
Maybe that's why I had a problem because my normal time is 5 o'clock. So early to me would be 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. So let's hear it.
When I moved to Da Nang, when I drove to Da Nang, I was finishing up my apartment in Hanoi and everything was packed. I had already sent the movers on. And, it was my last night in the old apartment and I was anxious because I was driving down. I was worried that everything was going to get down here. I just could not sleep. And so finally at like 2:30 in the morning, I thought, you know what? Let's just go. So I locked up
Uh,
the apartment and headed down. It was
mm,
very early. And what else happened? It was very rainy in Hanoi. So for about the first 2 hours, it takes about 11 and a half hours, 12 hours. So for the first 2 hours, it was very rainy, which made me tired, of course. So I had to have loud music on, and then I had to stop to take breaks to wake myself up because I was worried that I was going to fall asleep. But
yeah.
once we got through the rain and the sun started coming up, then I had no problem.
So you didn't sleep at all until you
No,
reached Dana.
maybe, I mean, I might have slept for an hour or two during the night, but by 2, I was up and hit the road.
Wow.
So that was probably the last time I got up super early. It happens when I travel in the States too. I have to get up like super early, 3, 4 o'clock.
Mm. Do you think it was dangerous to drive on so little sleep?
Yes. Yes.
Would you do it again?
I mean, I would. I'm quite aware of myself. Like I said, if I felt myself getting sleepy, I would stop
Mm,
and take a break.
right.
or you can roll down the windows. I mean, there are ways to stay awake. That's the other nice thing. There's really not many people on the road that early.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The traffic would have been great.
Yeah, yeah. So would I do it again? Yeah, I do it again because I didn't feel there was a danger, super danger, really, any more than usual on the roads in Vietnam, and it was a success. Do you have a
Did you
time
feel
when you?
proud of yourself? Sorry, did you feel proud of yourself for making this decision?
Did
Such
I
an
feel
on the
proud?
spur,
It
in a
needed
spur,
to be on the spur of the moment.
on the spur of a moment like that?
Yeah, it needed to be done, and I just wanted to
I'm
get down here.
okay. Just knowing that you are a more like a planned person.
Well, I think that was it, right? Everything was in the air. We could say everything was in limbo at that moment. The movers were coming down. I hadn't signed the lease down here yet, although I had an apartment. So getting down here was putting that next part into action, right? Like we showed up,
Oh,
the movers showed up, I met the leasing agent, getting established, getting parking arranged. It was a long process. And
I
so
see.
getting down here, there was nothing left that I could do in Hanoi. So let's close it down and head up.
Hmm.
That
I'm
was it.
surprised you didn't have like a specific time that you would start moving,
What do
knowing
you
that you like to plan things.
what do you mean? Like
Like you didn't have like, I am going to start this journey at this time in the morning, for example.
I did,
You-
but I
Oh, you
couldn't sleep.
did.
I did, but I couldn't sleep. So I'm like, I revised the plan. Yeah, I think I wanted to leave about 5.
I see. I see.
So it was I just couldn't sleep, and so I'm just sitting
Okay.
there trying to sleep, flipping and
All
flopping in
right.
bed. So down I
Mm.
came.
So lately, even though I described to you that I am usually a night owl, I have started to sleep earlier lately, especially when I get my son to sleep.
Hmm.
I would just fall asleep next to him and just wake up the next morning. And since I go to bed so early, like around 9 or 10, which is early for me,
Hmm.
I would get up at sometimes 3 a.m. or 4
Ooh.
a.m. just because in the days before that, I would be sleeping for 4 to 5 hours a day only, just because I would
Mm-hmm.
be like doing that revenge bedtime procrastination, binge watching something.
Mm.
So I would be used to that very short night sleep, 4 hour sleep. So when I get to bed at 9 or 10, I would get up at 4 to 5. Is that 4 hours? No, that's
9 or 10,
like,
6 or 7 hours, right?
yeah. So I would get up at 3 or 2:30 actually.
Mm.
I would be awake and then I would know that this is the middle of the night and I'm not supposed to like look at my phone or yeah, I shouldn't be looking at my phone. So I wouldn't even know what time it would be.
Mm.
And I would try to go back to sleep because I know I would still be sleepy. But this time I had a lot of things going on, and I was pondering over things. There were things I need to think through, and I still didn't couldn't find a solution to. So I took this time to just get out of bed at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning and take a notepad. And I started to jot down ideas. A lot of things were coming up in my head at the time.
Sure, like a brain dump.
And yeah, and I felt so creative. And there were so many things I was ticking off my to-do list mentally. So I was like, how about just write all of this down so I don't forget in the morning? So I did that. I didn't even turn on the lights just to make
Hmm.
sure I would be able to get back to sleep. But at the same time, I was like, I would be ready to get up and work as well if I felt like it.
Hmm.
But I really enjoyed the fact that I had a lot of things jotted down, and I was able to get those in motion when the day actually started later on. So that was like a strange morning for me.
Why do you think? you felt more creative or more free to get those ideas down in the middle of the night?
There were several reasons, I think. First of all, I was already thinking about
Mm-hmm.
them for a long time during the day and probably even when I was sleeping. So when I got up, I guess those ideas were like bottling up and they needed to be released. And so I guess they were just compiling throughout the day or even
Mm-hmm.
days ahead before that. And also, it was so quiet and there was nothing else that I needed to take care of.
No distractions.
Nothing. I loved it so much that I thought to myself, next time I get up at 2 or 3, I would do the same thing.
I wonder if a lot of artists or writers work late like that because, again, the world's quiet. It's dark. Everyone else is in bed for the most part. And it just kind of frees your brain from all of those things that we deal with during the day.
Yeah, I suppose they either do that or they find a secluded place
Mm-hmm.
or lock themselves up somewhere
Mm-hmm.
in order to be able to focus.
Do you think you could? I mean, let's say you had a slightly different life. There are some people, I'm sure in Vietnam too, who work what I would call the midnight shift, right? They work from midnight to 8 in the morning. My brother used to do that. Do you think you could do something like that?
I don't think I would be able to do it for a long time. I mean, my entire schedule will have to be changed. I
Yeah,
would have
right.
to sleep during the day. That would mean not being very social, I guess, because a lot
Mm.
of our friends and family would not function at night. Sorry,
Yeah,
at the
you're
time
living
we
an
would be free.
opposite life, essentially.
Yeah, I suppose I will make other friends and hang out with other friends who would be able to cater to that schedule. But I think in the long term, such schedule really affects your health physically and mentally.
I think it does. Yeah, I think they find that it affects your health. We're designed to sleep at night, and we need sunlight. How much sleep do you think people need? I mean, everyone's different, but what's a good average number?
7 to 8 hours.
Yeah, yeah, I would say 7 to 9, or maybe even 8 to 9. Honestly,
Right.
I think people don't get enough.
Is it because you watched that guy who studied sleep?
No,
How did you know about this?
I started sleeping longer.
Hmm,
Again, we've often talked about the cultures in America, Vietnam. The culture in America, you stay up late, you get up early, work, work, work.
hmm,
And I had more freedom to sleep longer here. I still get up early, I just go to bed earlier. And I feel better. I feel
hmm,
better physically, mentally, everything. So that just told me, oh, wow, I clearly wasn't getting enough sleep. And it's
hmm.
usually 8 to 9 hours. Everyone's
I
different.
watched a guy, I don't remember his name, but he was talking about that. And he was talking about how schools should actually start later so children can get enough sleep.
I wonder if they would, or they would just do the revenge procrastination where they
I
would stay
know,
up later.
right?
Yeah, I don't think kids get enough sleep. I don't think anyone does. Well,
Except you.
except me. That's right. And hopefully our listeners after this. So thank you for watching or listening to another episode.
Thank you,
Rem-
everyone.
Remember to check out the description for the resources and the transcript. Give us a like and a subscribe, and please leave a comment. It really helps with the algorithm, and we respond to each and every one. Until next time, happy studies, and we will see you then.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.